things come back to recent history or a while back, and I've always been obsessed with just studying good offensive basketball, and whether you have the personnel to apply it is, by season. But I just remember thinking with pick and roll offense, like if you have a versatile offensive player coming off the screen and you have a physical defender that can create the space and separation they need, playing over the top is just a much more efficient way of playing. And fortunately, Danny was really a guard trapped in a big man's body, and so that combination with him and Vlad it was very unique, but it was also new, and I don't know if we could have ridden it full time, so we just kind of used it in spots when we felt like we really needed it. That's a great question. There will be some similarities, but I think Yaxel will probably try to get him downhill a little bit more. We manipulated a certain spacing with Vlad and Danny that won't necessarily be as effective for this group as we anticipate, but also our bigs aren't the same. Merez has been injured, so he hasn't had a chance to play with Yaxel in big ball handlers as much, but Adai is a lot different than Vlad, so we will use it, but it's not going to look like it did last year. Those two guys made it work. He's day by day.
How does that feel? How have you got to maybe know him a little bit, and why that decision this season?
It was in the works last year. Coming into the situation, I was drinking out of a fire hose, so a lot of those things would just be brought to my attention, and obviously I wanted it to happen because I know how much he means to the University of Michigan. So I don't know the behind-the-scenes processes to things like that, but what an ambassador for the University of Michigan for our program, and coincidentally we'll be doing it in conjunction with the Buckeyes game, so it should be a fun night. Quite a coincidence. Well, we talk about it a lot in our program that we need to do what's best for the Big Ten, our game, our university, our athletic department, and a lot of times I think we tend to think about what's best for me as the coach or whatever the case. So we both felt like it's great for number one, in a geographically challenged league like we have, to not play someone that's a bus ride away. Didn't make sense from our perspective, but also just the attention and energy around the game is great for all parties. We had an unbelievable game there last year. We were very fortunate to escape with a win. It was back and forth, and I would anticipate both games will be like that this year, and I know the television networks were excited about it, so it made sense on all fronts. Well, Roddy's such a relational person. He's a great human being, so I think new probably doesn't benefit him to not have a relationship with his teammates, with his coaches, and he's so genuine and authentic that now I feel like he has a great relationship with everyone in our program, and he's been a real sounding board for the young guys. He always tells them the right things, and I don't know if I've been around anyone that is universally as liked and respected as Roddy. There may be some equally, but no one anymore. And so he has a really strong voice, and as a staff, we know that we can trust that it's coming from a real healthy place and a team-first mindset.
When we were talking to Roddy earlier, he started mentioning some of the unorthodox play calls and schemes he run in practice, and he used the phrase, Dusty has a very weird mind. Is that a title you want to claim? And then what do you see as the advantage of leaving no stone unturned in practice like this and trying all these different unique schemes out in practice?
Well, I've been called much worse. Practice is a time for practice, and so if you come to one of our film sessions or games, we're not striving for perfection. We're not striving to be right. We're experimenting and trying to find the best ways for us to play. And a lot of times, if there's an idea or something that I think relates to our personnel, we'll try it in practice, and those reps in practice will tell us, do we need to to switch it up a little bit or tweak it, or is it just not for us, or we don't have the passer to complete that play, or we don't have the size to convert that, or that's not really worth the time it's going to take to memorize the steps that got to it. So we do, this year we're probably behind in our tinkering because the last couple weeks we've got most of our base in, but we've had some injuries and illnesses, and I don't like to put in a lot of new stuff if we're missing more than one or two players.
And do you think down the road that the versatility and talent of this roster allows you to experiment with more things?
Absolutely. The only way it works is if you have talented players who are also very intelligent and they're adaptable to the situation. And our basketball IQ on this year's squad is extremely high, as was it last year.
What was your pitch to Yaxel?
To be honest, he is the least recruited player on our roster as far as our pitch. We went and essentially met with him for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And from that point on, all signs pointed to him that he would be at Michigan unless he was in the NBA. It was more of what he was looking for at that moment. It was exactly what we are and who we are, and the familiarity helped. I mean, we competed against him. The UAB program, I was an assistant coach there, so I had a lot of relationships, and Yaxel was familiar with our program. But I think more than anything else, the way our guys were at FAU and the way they were at Michigan as far as caring about each other and playing well together and doing it in a real team-first mindset, I think is exactly what he was looking for at that time. And then the Danny Wolf, Vlad, the unique skill sets, he could envision himself doing a little bit more and doing some different things in it, and fortunately, and then obviously the brand of Michigan. I think anyone that follows college basketball respects the Block M.
Why do you think he decided to return to school?
I think he wants to be ready, and he's a very humble young man that doesn't think he's arrived. He knows he has a long way to go, as all of us do, to reach our goals. So I think that was the biggest thing. He felt like he would be more prepared for the NBA after playing in the Big Ten first season. Oh man, I love Nick Boyd. That's my guy, man. The year he sat out, we didn't turn the corner until the Final Four year, and we would have turned the corner if Nick would have played the year before. He was battling a foot injury and wasn't 100%, and so he essentially became a coach, assistant coach to me that year. And some of our conversations still stick with me to this day. He's a competitor. He's someone that brings out the best in people, and he loves the game and has a will to win that really fit our staff. And he's one of the big reasons that I'm sitting at this stage now. So Nick will be a part of my life forever. We're going to try to bust him up in Ann Arbor this year. But other than that, I'm going to be rooting like hell for those guys. I'm going to be a fan of the Badgers every other night because of Nick.
You have 8 days, but the starting lineup, you have to play. Do you know it all?
No, we've had so many guys out that it's tough to tell. Obviously, I think Roddy and Damari, the two guys here, have really solidified themselves as guys that they're going to be counted on. Elliot Cadeau, LJ's been out last couple weeks with an injury, and they were battling. And so up front, I'm not really sure yet. I mean, obviously Yaxel's one of the more talented players in the league, so it comes down to health and timing and whatever else with that other spot. But we just haven't had our group together to figure out the right pieces yet. Hopefully Merez has a chance to play in these exhibitions to kind of get his rhythm back, but I really have no idea. And I would think because of the personality of our team this year that these guys don't care either. It's going to be more of a matter of how do the rotations fit and who plays well together and what combinations, and we might just walk our whole team out for the starting lineups and just keep it moving.
Yeah, are there any concerns with, you said Merez may be able to play, but anyone that could miss the beginning of the season, regular season?
We have some bumps and bruises, and we're very, very cautious this early in the season. And so, there are a few guys. I don't know if LJ will play. Our season's long. We want to be our best in March. And anytime some guys are out, it gives you an opportunity to look at maybe a guy that wouldn't have played in real life situations. So our response to the injuries are always good. Whatever it is, good. We'll be better off long term because of it.
After winning the Big Ten, you've got an entire conference trying to dethrone you. What's your message to the team on handling that pressure, especially with other Big Ten and national contenders in the midst?
There's no hidden agendas in our locker room. Everyone wants the same thing, and that's to chase championships. We know we're a long way from that. The beautiful thing about being in this league, there's 18 teams, and so I feel like it's impossible to try to knock us off or knock Michigan State off. It's going to be a feudal warfare every single night in the Big Ten. So we're not really thinking about all those other teams as opposed to maybe what we'll see from them. But I know that I've caught myself several times. The media's asked, who do you anticipate being this or who do you anticipate being that? And I'll rattle off 4, 5, 6 teams that I think could win it. And then as soon as I stop talking, I remember 3 or 4 other teams that when I look at their roster, I think, man, they have a real shot if they can stay healthy and they can find a way to come together. So the field is wide open. I mean, we're gonna chase it just like everyone else. I thought before we signed Yaxel, it would be a tall task that we'd have to really fit some things together. After coaching Yax this summer and fall, he's a guard. He's played some point guard duties. He's guarded point guards. He actually guards point guards better than he does 5 men, in my opinion. He's got a real unique skill set, and he loves to pass it. He overpasses, and so usually that helps with chemistry and the locker room because everyone on our team is very unselfish. There's a chance, but we're going to have to get a lot better, more committed to it than we've been in practice. That's probably the only thing I've been disappointed in is we've had too much lag time going from defense to offense. So obviously in October we don't need to be our best, but we need to make a stride in that area.
With Morez's injury, have you been able to see anything still in terms of a jump from freshman year, maybe the shooting or on the glass?
Yeah,
Hard to tell.
yes, his last practice was by far his best. And it's tough because when he's in the post going against a die's 7'3", so he's learning to finish around, through, over. One of the better rim protectors in the league. I thought his decision-making this summer came a long way, and it was more just the reps of putting it in his hands. And as I said in practice in the summer, we're in education and experiment mode. We're not in win mode. So I thought he really did a good job of orchestrating offense and being a ball mover. He wasn't necessarily shooting a lot, but he was moving the ball and playing like a die does, and I think that really helped him because he looked a lot more comfortable towards the end of the summer than he did at the beginning. But he's going to continue to get better because he's a workhorse. That guy puts in the time. He's a warrior. I loved coaching Morez this summer.
As a player, how much of the passion of Mark Barnheiser kind of rubs off on you and makes you want to do this for a living?
I'd like to think that I had it in me before Coach Barnheiser, but he certainly pulled it out of me and all of the guys around me. I mean, there's no bigger competitor on the planet, and so I definitely wouldn't be sitting here today if he wouldn't have moved to my town and coached our basketball program because he changed the culture of a town of people in every sport, and so yeah, I'm very, very grateful for Coach Barnheiser, obviously. I mean, I love coaching older guys, so it would be fun. I just worry that then it's going to be 6 for 6 and 7 for 7, and what's the right cutoff to not be on a college campus? I don't know. These questions, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about those things or fighting it or agreeing or disagreeing with it because if I don't have any control over it, then I'm going to leave that up to Tony and the guys representing the Big Ten and our presidents and our administrators because they spend more time researching and whatnot, and there's no simple solution to any of these problems we're facing.
Speaking of that, we have no control over NCAA tournament expansion either, but you just mentioned 8 teams could win this league. You could have the 14th best team in this league and go far in the NCAA tournament. Is it maybe time to expand it and embrace?
I've said repeatedly, what's our purpose? I think that to do what's best for the game, I would have to think expansion and getting more quality programs into the big dance, and if it does expand, I would think that people would schedule more aggressively, which is good for the game and play more meaningful games. But I'm also a very nostalgic person. I love the history of our game, so if it was at 64, I would think that's great as well. I don't have a strong opinion either way, but I know whatever we decide to do, then I'm going to be a strong supporter of that way.
Do you have a best on ball, like pit bull type of defender yet this year that you feel like is a real pest or irritant on that end?
Yeah, we have a couple. Elliot Cadeau at times has been a real irritant on the ball. Yaxel's been as disruptive as anyone. Roddy Gale, as we've seen, is capable of really causing problems on getting the ball stopped. Namari Burnett's come a long way guarding the basketball. Will Cheddar, probably the most underrated part of his game is his ability to guard smaller, quicker players, which allows you to play with even more size on the court offensively. So yeah, we have a lot of different weapons. We've got to do it more frequently, but guys have shown in small doses a gift of guarding the ball and being disruptive and whatnot.
How do you balance like him working on just being better and more consistent at the things he does really well versus expanding his game? How do you strike that balance?
Well, after coaching these guys for a year, we feel like we have a much more clear idea of what we want their player development plan to be, and we gave him 2 or 3 things that we felt like he needed to address to make the next step in our program, and he's done it, and he's done it at an A+ level. I mean, the guy's the consummate pro. He's a culture builder. He's essentially assistant coach for us with recruits. He has such a unique background of experiences that, man, I lean on it. And Namari, if I have a question or I don't have a great pulse on something within the team, Namari's one of the first ones I ask. Him and Roddy and Will are the guys I go to and ask for some help figuring some things out.
Have you done yoga with him?
I need to, but I haven't yet. What do I appreciate about Braden Smith's game? I mean, he's a maestro. I mean, he's for someone that played in concert band growing up. I mean, he's able to conduct the whole thing and generate open shots for his bigs. They have a really they have a really great plan around him, and they have pieces that make it work. But his competitive spirit, I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, you've heard us mention him as maybe the best player in college basketball. So you can't be the best player in college basketball with now having elite physical attributes unless you've got something real unique inside of you. And his brain and his heart are exceptional from the outside looking in. I would be very disappointed if we're not playing in extremely meaningful games late in the year.
What do you remember about how Malik Cordell came onto your radar, and since he's been here, what's been most?
You know, I said it earlier in a different context. When people watch your teams play, you know, for example, Purdue is able to recruit the best shooters in the country now because they watch Purdue play. And Purdue attracts those guys. If you watch St. Mary's now, they're getting tough, gritty, tough suckers because when you turn on the TV year after year, that's what they have. So our big guys did a lot for us where the people around Malik thought that the job that our staff did with Vlad and the style of play was conducive for Vlad's success, that they thought he could eventually be a similar player as Vlad. And then from there, we watched the film. We thought something very similar. And we grabbed him early. He didn't announce it until late because he was still working through some things. But we think Malik, he's added a lot to practice, so we're optimistic he's going to be a really good player before he's done at Michigan.
As Mraz being a little banged up, sort of accelerated.
Yes, that's the positive of these older guys going out for a week or so. That Malik. Oscar Goodman, we've slid him down to the 5 to guard bigger guys and then be a stretch 5. Will Cheddar, we've moved him back to the 5. So, like, necessity forces you to look at some different things and tinker. And because of these minor injuries and illnesses, we've been able to look at different combinations. But, yeah, Malik's before he went out sick last week, he had made a big jump. He's probably our most physical player, and he's really pushed Adai Mara to be more physical and be more aggressive.
Asking this in the context of having Elliot Cadeau, a guy who I think you called him a wizard last week. How important is it to have a guy that can get your guys a bunch of open shots, and then also several players who can make hard shots?
Well, the first part is much more important because if we're going to rely on making difficult shots, then you're going to have to be a really good offensive rebounding team, and this is going to have to be some layers to it. Elliott, on the other hand, can break down the defense, can create advantages, and knows what he's doing and where he's going with it. And hopefully because of his ability to break down the defense, the offensive rebounding becomes easier, the shots become less contested and higher quality. So like I've said, we've gotten more easy baskets in the summer this year than we did all of last year in practice. And that's not a shot at anyone. That's just Elliott's natural ability or work, the ability that he's developed into to being that point guard.
Yaxel, I know there were a lot of schools in similar boats as they were looking for pro versus coming back to college, and some even wanted to put it in the contract and basically say, hey, like, we don't want you to go through the process, we can't deal with the uncertainty. Why were you guys willing to kind of ride the wave with him, and what was the communication like really during that process?
Well, the communication was very just authentic and more of just let's see where we are and supporting him through the process. And he was updating us on the workouts. And a lot of times the NBA guys we know would call us and tell us how he worked out and how their conversation was. As far as the other stuff, giving him financial incentive to come to college or anything like that, we didn't do any of that. We felt like we had a really great opportunity for him. We felt like he raised our ceiling exponentially, and even some guys who would have to sacrifice playing time on our team were very supportive of getting him here, because ultimately if we win at a high level, everyone benefits versus bringing everyone having good individual stats. Well, I'm very happy where we are right now, and we've never tried to be the best. That was never our goal. Our goal is to be competitive and understand that all of us, if we want to chase a championship, are going to have to make sacrifices. Just like any Super Bowl champion, they typically lose a lot of their guys because the team caused them to be overvalued, and so we want our guys to be taken care of, but also understand that, like, I don't think we have very many guys in our locker room that are really driven by money. We want them to be taken care of financially because there's money being generated. But I say it all the time. I don't think anyone in our locker room would operate differently on a daily basis if they weren't getting paid, or they were getting paid whatever they were a few years ago when you were simply counting on Allsted and Pell Grants and whatnot. Now they're able to do meal preps and live in nice apartments and not live with roommates. But other than that, I don't think, and they drive really nice cars for the most part, but other than that, I don't think any of their day-to-days have changed. It's work. It's a commitment by our collective last year, the Champion Circle, they're evolving as well. Our administration's been very supportive of making sure that our players feel appreciated and valued. And so, some places that I've been, they can't do it. It's not possible. They're working in the red every year as an athletic department and as a program. Unfortunately, at a place like Michigan, we've been around 20 years longer than our state. And so we have a very, very proud alumni base, and I'm very grateful that they've accepted me into this proud tradition fraternity, and it's been awesome so far. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about Michigan. They've surpassed expectations in all facets, and NIL and rev share included.
I feel like when talking to other coaches, there's a feeling that you guys were very prepared for this spring in the portal and able to be really aggressive and go identify the guys you wanted. The market was exploding, obviously, price-wise for top talent. What allowed you to be so prepared for when things struck, or was it just a matter of moving quicker than everyone else once things moved?
In today's climate, I think our recruiting is overestimated and their recruiting is underestimated. I think these guys go into the portal with a clear idea of what they want, and if it's financial, they know where to go. They know what schools to call. If it's style of play, they know who. They watch games. They follow social media. They know each other. Every player that we recruited, immediately after making contact, called. Don't say called. No one calls anyone. They DM'd or reached out to our current roster or our former players to do homework on us. And so, yes, we watch a lot of basketball. We have big staffs now. We know who's good and who's not. And when a really good player goes in the portal, we immediately make contact and see if what they're looking for matches what we have to offer. And we're very transparent with what our vision is and how it's going to work. Obviously, those things can change, but I do think our honesty and the way we've treated our players in the past and how much time we invest in them has paid dividends, because now with the open lines of communication, these guys have been in camps with each other. They've attended the same prep schools. A lot of the recruitment is done behind the scenes, especially within teams, the players recruiting other players.
We have a roster with as much maybe optionality or versatility as you guys might have every year. How much of lineup combinations might come down to data versus the field? How much of the data
I was hoping to have more data up to this point, practice data, but we still have several weeks. But it usually comes down to feel. I think as coaches, sometimes we make the numbers say what we want them to say at times. But a combination of both, and we take a lot of pride in playing fast, so it's not as if we can have a 6 or 7 man rotation anyway. And so once we get into the flow of the game, we play more guys, and that's where we'll lean on the combination of eye and data. Because when I look at the stats and the combinations, it's in my it's stored back there someplace. But when I'm watching then the live action, if it's going really well or really poorly, sometimes it just stamps what you already thought, or you need to take a deeper dive at it. But that's why we have a big staff too. Our staff, they do a lot of that, and they put those nuggets in my ear in real time. Well, the coaches we've hired in this league, they don't need my advice. These guys are proven winners. How many? Are there 3 new ones? Oh, 4. We've got Ben, Buzz, Nico. Oh, and Derek. Yeah. Those 4 guys, they don't need any advice from me. They've been doing it at an extremely high level, and they've earned their way here. But. Yeah, and a close friend of mine that played in the league and also coached in the league had told me you need to have everything in before Big Ten play starts, because once you get into conference, there's not much time to practice new things or deviate from what you have in. There's not enough time with the travel and the odd playing every night of the week essentially. So you need to have what you have in because you're not going to be able to pivot. And so we planned on that, and we felt like we did a good job of it, but we didn't feel like we did a good enough job because there were a lot of pivots. And then just you forget how much at this level, I shouldn't say at this level, with the amount of history and tradition the programs have in our league, how much each game means to the student body, to the fans in that area, the community. And so when you walk into Lincoln, Nebraska or West Lafayette, and the buzz, to quote Jon Rothstein, it's palpable. I mean, you can feel it when you walk into these arenas. It was much better before I came into the league. Now, obviously, there's a lot to be made of our rivalry. He put on a master class last year. The job that he and his staff did was one of the better coaching jobs that I've seen. And once again, I'm not taking I thought they had really, really good players, and those guys, you could tell it. They came together and did something special. And so I'll leave it at that. But you can't have anything but respect for their program. Do I like them? Hell no. But do I respect them? Absolutely. It's different because the guys that have been at one place for a long, long time, or it's almost like they've been in a different sport than those of us that have had to bounce around and see different things. So they've been great ambassadors for our game and great mentors to our coaches, but you don't get a lot of advice from guys that are trying to beat your ass. And so we'll leave it at that.
Coach, you had the opportunity to coach Nick Boyd.
Yeah.
Now he's at Wisconsin playing in the same conference. What's your thoughts about Nick Boyd and how can he help Wisconsin?
Nick Boyd can help Wisconsin in a number of ways. He's a winner, he's a competitor, and he's a heck of a basketball player. I love Nick, he's family. It's going to be hard trying to go at him that one night. Hopefully one night we don't play him in the Big Ten tournament again, but nothing but love for Nick Boyd. You guys are going to enjoy watching him. He's as passionate, energetic, skilled player as there is. So I'm excited, once again, just to be a part of his journey and watch him grow. He was like an assistant coach for me one year, also while he was injured.
What's impressed you about Perez just in the time you've had him?
Perez, what's impressed me the most is his warrior mindset and how coachable he's been. He wants to get better. He watches film. He puts in individual work. On the court, he's not afraid to hold his teammates accountable and say what's on his mind. So he was playing at a high level before he went out with his injury, and so he's going to have a monster year for us. I'm confident.
Obviously, seeing the fit with him and Yaxel today, just maybe playing together, playing
Yeah.
separately, however it works.
We haven't had a chance to see them as much as we would have hoped for a number of reasons, but I say it all the time, when you have really good players, no matter how tall they are, usually you can find a way to make that work, and those three guys are really good. So we'll definitely see it at times. Are we going to ride it for 40 minutes? Absolutely not. But there's going to be times when we play really, really big. There's going to be times when we play really, really small. The thing about this league, the other coaches and programs dictate that typically.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.